Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Find Your Purpose and Create a Business Summit. We're learning how to access your intuition and personal power using spiritual and practical tools. And this interview today is going to have so much benefit for you. This is one of my former coaches and good friend, Tom Matzen. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, Barb, so excited to see you here. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Namaste. There we go.
I love that.
As Barb knows, I'm a crossover woo-woo. I don't live in either camp. I cross back and forth.
Which is so good. I think more and more entrepreneurs are becoming heart-centered or spiritual entrepreneurs.
Well, if they listen to the intuition, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. That's the challenge, is that a lot of times we're taught strategies by people that are just sharks out there to take money. And so they're not even trying to have you tap into your intuition. Right. I remember years ago when I was in the franchising space, someone talked about never buy a franchise you're passionate about. It's the worst thing you can do. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And of course, they sold franchises for a living. And so I get on their franchise broker site and they're selling dry cleaners. I'm like, well, no wonder you're telling people not to buy a business they're passionate about. Who would buy a dry cleaner? Like, literally, I'm going to clean your laundry with chemicals. I can't wait to have a whole career of cleaning your laundry with chemicals. Like, who would do that, right? So I think he was a little biased on his advice.
That's so funny. So I'm going to read Tom's bio, and then we're going to talk about who the summit is for and where the money is going if you choose to purchase. So Tom is a business coach, but authority entrepreneurs hire Tom to build 7- and 8-figure enterprises by helping them package their wisdom and knowledge and build a global movement in the process, focusing on high-ticket programs that guarantee results. Tom has started some 89 businesses of his own, 7- and 8 figures and beyond. More importantly, his personal coaching clients have generated more than 100 million in sales in dozens of industries. However, he has made more mistakes on his own businesses already than most people make in a lifetime. Most people don't admit to that. He has made and lost millions several times over, which makes him the guy that you want to work with. Tom is on a mission to empower 10,000 authority entrepreneurs to build 7- and 8-figure businesses by December of 2024. Whew, that's a big goal.
Chop, chop, chop. We got to get going. Tune in, everyone. Hopefully you'll be one of those, because we got lots of people to reach.
I love that. And Tom is one of the people that is passionate about KIVA. And that is where all the proceeds from this summit are going if you choose to purchase it, because these are a lot of great speakers. And obviously it's difficult to listen to absolutely every one of them during the 7-day framework that we've set up. So KIVA is a loan organization for international businesses. And during the pandemic, so many people that I knew in tourism who were very well paid tour guides or surf instructors or ran these amazing guiding businesses with gorillas, they lost their jobs. And they were looking for a way to pivot. And one of the things that helped them stay alive was loans from KIVA. So Tom, maybe you want to talk about your experience, because I know this is a passion project for you also.
I love KIVA. I'm so honored to support them with your summit. I'm happy to do that. If you're not familiar with KIVA and you're tuning in, you should be. It was founded by 2 Microsoft millionaires. They put all of their own money in to cover all of the overhead. And so before they did their first 100 million in small loans, all of the overhead was covered by them. It's a phenomenal story. They don't talk about that now, because as they've grown, they also give you an opportunity to do a small additional contribution to cover overhead, because they've got, they're now doing loans in 77 countries. And Barb and I know that because I just looked up my portfolio before we did went live on the recording here. And we have loans out. My son and I, he's 15. He did his first micro loan with me when he was 6. We now have loans out in 60 of the 77 countries that they serve. We're super proud of that. We love KIVA. We think they're an awesome organization. They primarily lend to women in developing countries. It's not exclusively that, but primarily. And their repayment rate, here's the cool part. If you put money into KIVA, the loans get repaid with interest, and then you can put it back in. And so we recirculate. In fact, I just looked up as we were checking the portfolio, and I've got $37 to relend sitting in my account that I haven't spent. And so after this interview, I'm going to jump in and we're going to find another loan, another country, and put some more money to work. Put that money, and I always add more every time we do it. I love the work they do. And what you're doing is you're helping entrepreneurs in developing countries, right, stand on their own, feed their family, build a community, small little microloans. Most of the loans are $200, $500, $1,000. So every 20 bucks adds up. And a little extra for experts, definitely buy the upgrade, the VIP passes, so that you can put the $47 to work. Barb will get that working for you. But also you can go in and set up your own account, and you can do loans, and you can pick the type of loan, the person, the country you want. With my young son, it allows us to teach geography and social responsibility all at the same time. And it's been really, really cool.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, what a great way to get your children involved in entrepreneurship from an early age. And we should all be entrepreneurs.
Totally. One way or another. We all are entrepreneurs. A lot of us don't realize it, right? We
Yeah,
all are
that's true.
entrepreneurs. We're running our households, right? We're running a school investment program if you've got kids, right? We've got all kinds of nonprofit operations we're running, whether we know it or not, right? So why not build a business around your passion?
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
Which is why I love this summit. I think it's great. Finding your purpose and creating a business around your purpose is literally, I think, part of the meaning of life. Like, I think we're here on this planet to find our highest and best way to serve. And for some of us, that's not a business. Totally get that. But I'm guessing from most of the people listening to this, it is or could be. And so you're busy trying to figure out how to pull it off. And as Barb alluded to, I've worked with thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs over the last 37 years, helping them start, run, grow, and scale their businesses. So happy to dig into some of the things that'll help you learn from some of the mistakes I made earlier on and save you a bunch of drama and crisis and loss, hopefully, so you can get up and running faster.
I love that. Now, on the title page, you wrote that you were going to tell us how to get 9 times the prospects to raise their hand and ask for more details from you using strategic risk reversal. Do you want to start out with that? And also
let's start out with that. And I, me, I always love quotes. So I'm going to start out with a quote from Mr. 10Xer, Grant Cardone. He says, under promise and over deliver and you survive, but over promise and then over deliver on that and you can change the world. And I think that's the heart of this strategy. Is a lot of entrepreneurs are taught to under promise and over deliver. And that'll keep you in business. There's no question that'll keep you in business, but that doesn't change the world. That doesn't change the world. If you think about any product or service or restaurant or small business that blows your mind, that you rave about, they don't under promise and over deliver. They're over delivering all the time. And whether you're talking bricks and mortar or service or online businesses, the same thing applies, right? Apple isn't Apple because they under promise and over deliver, right? They promise to change the world and then they over deliver on their promise in each of their areas and what they do. And that's why Apple is Apple. I got a Tesla recently, Barb. We haven't talked about this. And it's my first Elon Musk product ever, my first Tesla. And every single aspect of this car is over delivering. It blows my mind how they've taken something as simple as a car, as simple or complex, whatever you want to call it. I mean, as basic as a car, and they've over delivered in every aspect of it. After we record this interview, I'm going to go have breakfast at my local cafe. Soon as we're done, I'm going to grab my app. I'm going to hit the warm button in the climate control center. I'm going to put it on. And by the time I walk to my car, it will be warmed, ready, and the seats will be toasty.
That is amazing.
It's such a simple thing, but who wouldn't want that in their car, right? The ability to have it temperature controlled, whether you're cooling it down because it's too hot or warming it up because it's too cold. Either way, like, it's such a simple idea. And yet to pull that off takes over promising and then over delivering on that. And part of that is a strategy I call risk reversal. I learned this from Jay Abraham. Some of you old timers out there will know of Jay. I think he's the smartest marketing consultant in the world. I've documented over 100 million in sales increases. He's documented over 21 billion in sales increases before he stopped counting. Okay. So this guy is super smart, and his strategy is if you want to grow rapidly, take the risk off your prospect shoulders and put it on your shoulders. So a summit is a good example of that. Almost every single person joins the summit for free. And then they're offered a chance to buy the recordings. So if you love the quality of the people and the messages you're hearing and the impact it's going to make, you're really happy to spend $47, let alone it's all going to a loan to help developing country entrepreneurs. Like, hello, buy it right now. It's like a great deal. But even without that, it allows Barb and all of her interview subjects to over deliver with you, give you great value. Barb knows this. If you hire me as a private coach, it's $2,500 an hour. Right? We're going to go about an hour today. You're going to get way more than $2,500 worth of value if you're paying attention. And if you're taking notes, it's going to be worth thousands and thousands of dollars. Risk reversal alone is a strategy that generates 9 times the prospects and 3 times the sales. And why not 9 times the sales? Because when you risk reverse, when you guarantee results, you won't take everyone's money. You will make sure that it's a good fit before you take their money. So you're not going to bring as many of those 9 times in. You're going to bring about 3 times in. But having said that, the whole idea started when I was 23 years old. I don't know if you know this story, Barb. I was working for Dale Carnegie, and at Dale Carnegie, I was a sales and assistant instructor. And you had small groups you would support outside the main instructor, and you'd meet with them during the week to make sure they were ready for the next session. And as a result, I had a position of trust and authority with that small group of entrepreneurs. A lot of people taking the course were entrepreneurs or wanting to be entrepreneurs. And they would come to me and ask me advice. And, I'm 23 years old, so I always had an answer. I didn't necessarily have the wisdom or the perspective, but I had an answer. And after doing this for a few months, I'm like, gosh, I should actually take some courses on this, because I don't know if my advice is based in reality. I just know it's my thought, my opinion. So I started taking business marketing seminars and courses, and I loved them. I loved them. I started taking everyone I could get my hands on. At the time I lived in Calgary, and they had all the big speakers would travel through Calgary. It was one of the A stops on the journey. And it was very entrepreneurial city, still is today. And so all the big name speakers came through, and I started going to Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy and Dan Kennedy and all these people. And I remember people would then start asking me for advice on their business. And I started doing a little side projects where I would charge for this advice, and I would put together a marketing plan or a strategy. And I got a call one day from a guy in the locksmith business. And he wanted help putting together a Yellow Pages strategy. Now, for you kids out there, it's the internet in a book. I like to say the Yellow Pages back in the day. Remember, Barb will know this, right? It's a phone book just of all business ads. And if you wanted a locksmith, you want to change your locks, you would go to the L, look up locksmith, and there'd be a bunch of ads from different locksmiths, and you'd call 1 or 2 of them, and off you go. Now you just Google it, right? Go to Professor Google and search the same topic. But back then it was a physical book. And I had just completed a weekend seminar on Yellow Page ads from the top Yellow Page expert in the world, who happened to be an Australian who came to Calgary. His example for the entire 2 days was a locksmith. So I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. Because I had to give the guy a proposal the following week. I'm like, this is great. So we're taking all these notes. I'm all excited. I put together the proposal. Back then it was electric typewriter days. It wasn't even computer days. And I came to the pricing. And I'm like, what am I going to charge this guy? Like, I knew I could help him because of all the advice I just got. I knew I could help him, but I didn't know what to charge him. I didn't know there were 9 pricing strategies out there. Many of you tuning in, you may not know there are 9 different pricing strategies. That time I basically had one strategy. How much did I want to make? That was my one strategy. I was like, okay, well, I want to make this. This guy was a veteran entrepreneur, kind of grizzly old timer. And in my mind's eye, he had a Southern accent. Calgary is famous for oil and gas. And a lot of Texans relocate to Calgary in the oil and gas business. In fact, at one point, Calgary had more American citizens than any city in the world outside of the US living there. I don't know if that's the case still today, but then it was. And so in my mind's eye, it was this Houston Texan with a drawl, and he was an old timer. He was all of 52, really old. He says now that he's older than 52 and thinks he's young, right? But back then he was really old, Barb. He was like in his 50s. Oh, he's ancient. And I knew he was going to grind me on price. So I was like, okay, I want to make this. So I'm going to ask for this. I doubled my price. I'd never done that, but I figured he'd grind me, right? So I go into his office and I present what I want to do. And here's what we're going to do. And this and this and this and this and this. And he goes, son, you think it's going to work? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Blah, 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 blah. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll pay you double if it does and nothing if it don't. Now, this was double my double. This was 4 times what I wanted. 4 times. And I'm like, I totally know this is going to work. I said, you're on, sir. Stick my hand out. We shook on it. The deadline for the Yellow Pages was about a month away. So I worked hard on the ads. We got the ads. 2 months later, the Yellow Pages came out. 30 days later, I get a phone call. Matzen, get your ass down to my office. I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, it's only a month in. He can't possibly be expecting results this fast. And I'm all freaking out. I get down, I clear my schedule. I come down to his office and I'm sitting there. I'm all nervous. And I'm like, he goes, I got something for you. And he reaches over and he gives me $10,000.
Oh my gosh, that must have felt so good.
I was blown away. But the best part was he was happy. He was happier than he ever could have been. Right? So I wanted 2,500. I priced it at 5,000. He offered me double. Here's $10,000. I never made that much money at one time in my life at that point. And I learned a very powerful lesson. If you link your work to the results, not only do you make a lot more money, but your clients are happier. And that began this whole journey of what I call strategic risk reversal. There are 6 steps to that. We'll get into all 6 steps in a moment, but I just wanted to share that story to give everyone tuning in the context around that. Thoughts, Barb?
Oh, you always give so much value. I can hardly wait to hear the 6 steps, because who wouldn't want to make a lot of money and have happy clients?
Right? Like, it's so much easier. And one of the things that I don't talk about a lot in this topic is it's also so much easier to sell your service when you have a guarantee, a risk reversal. You have to be way less professional. In fact, you can be a brand new business. A lot of people in this summit are thinking of starting a brand new business. So imagine if it's simple as half up front, half at the end. Because by the way, I learned if you only get paid at the end, your clients don't always listen to you.
And
So
they don't always pay you.
And therefore they don't always pay you because they're not listening to you and they don't get the results. So you want to get money up front. You want to get some skin in the game up front for sure. But a simple version can be half up front, half at the end. If you're satisfied. That alone was a game changer for me as a young consultant. It was an absolute game changer. So shall we dig into the 6 steps on how to pull this off?
Yes, please. I hope everybody has their pen and paper ready.
Or spend $47 and get the recordings. Hello.
Yes.
Okay.
Listen
Number
to it
1,
over and over again.
identify the biggest. By the way, if you spend, here's the deal. I'll just tell you risk reversal right now. If you spend $47 and buy the recordings and don't think this one session is worth 10 times that, I'll double your money to KIVA personally. I'll put $100 into KIVA personally. If you don't think that's the case, just send Barb an email. She'll track me down and say, I got 3 numbnuts here that didn't think they got value out of your training. And I'll put $300 into KIVA on the spot. Like literally, I mean, this is a no brainer. So back to the steps. Number 1, identify the biggest risks prospects face when working with you, right? There's all kinds of risks they face when working with you, in addition to money and time, right? What's the penalty to your client of staying where they are right now? What difference could it be or tangibly or intangibly make in their life? What's the corporate risk or family risk of doing something like this if it fails to achieve the results? I love that one because, my favorite example there is IBM, the computer company. right? The competition calls them inferior but marketable. And they laugh. It's like, but guess what? IBM kicks butt. And here's the thing. If you're in a corporation and you're hiring a new computer system, you have a choice of IBM or your cousin Fred, who works out of his mom's house. What's the corporate risk? Well, if you hire IBM and it doesn't work, there's zero risk. It's IBM. They'll fix it. If you hire your cousin who lives out of his mom's basement, you're going to get fired if it doesn't work out. Like, you could literally get fired, right? We're in the high ticket program world now, Barb, as you know, for the last many, many years. High ticket programs are a big investment. Our most popular program is called $1 Million Summit Program. It's 25,000 down, but we guarantee $1 million in cash to the person. But if the spouse isn't on board and you put 25,000 into a business, there could be divorce. Like, that's literally a risk, is divorce, right? So you want to identify all of the risks that someone faces when working with you, including time and money, and make a big list of those. And I think most of us that have any sort of client experience can do that. But even if you don't, if you're thinking of starting a new business, you could put yourself in the prospect's shoes. You could ask some prospects, hey, if you were to hire me as a coach for your health, what risks would you think there would be? Like, what concerns would you have? Well, maybe I get sick from listening to your advice. Maybe I put on weight instead of lose weight. Maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, and get a list. Clear on that one? Does that make sense, Barb?
Yeah, that's great, Tom. I think you gave a lot of good examples. Nobody wants those bad things to happen.
Yeah. So the next step is create the biggest, boldest possible guarantee you can create. Create the biggest, boldest possible guarantee. Dollars and cents. Think back to your best case study, your best testimonial, ideally measurable and quantifiable feedback. And make a list of all the things you'd be willing to do to compensate someone. Also, look at your competitors. What are their most powerful and superior guarantees? And come up with your best possible guarantee. It's such an important step. At this point, you're not figuring out how you're going to pull it off yet. You're just coming up with it. My favorite example was a gal called Catherine, who's a realtor. And she was in a workshop where I was teaching this strategy. It was a 2-day workshop. And on risk reversal, we happened to split it. The end of day one was a Saturday night. And then we'd start again on Sunday morning. And so we got to this part, and that was as far as we got. And then we broke for the night. And I didn't know this. She then we broke around 6 o'clock. She had a listing presentation at 7 o'clock. So she's driving to the listing presentation thinking, biggest, boldest possible guarantee. What could I do? And she was fairly new in real estate sales, but had been a real estate secretary for 12 years and seen all these young bucks, as she called it, in her office, lie to their prospects and make all this sorts of money. And she's like, gosh, I could make so much money if I just didn't lie to my prospects like these young guys always seem to do. So she decided to become a realtor because she was fed up with the lies that a lot of young real estate guys would give their clients. Oh, your house will sell for, this amount of money, when they know it wouldn't. It was a perfect example. And so she vowed when she got into real estate, she would never lie to a prospect. Wow. Like, you think about that, it's like, talk about a tough industry, right? Like, who thinks like, oh, we should never lie to our customers? Like, how about everyone? But in that industry, it's pretty normal to kind of shade the truth back then in her area. And so she said, I'll never do that. I'll always be honest. Well, guess what? Her business took off because people respected that. No, Barb, we can't get you $500,000 for your house. You'll need to fix the kitchen up. You'll need to do this. You'll need to do this. Then we might be able to get that. But the way it's currently done with your current curb appeal, based on the comps, you can get you 375, but I can't get you 500. Well, Joe down the street said he could get you that. I said, yeah, and he's lying. Like honesty paid. So she's driving to this call and she goes, okay, biggest, boldest possible guarantee. She knew this guy was going to sell this house and buy another one. In the industry, they call that double ending a deal. So she decided to offer a guarantee on the spot to test the idea. She offered to double end the guy's property. In other words, if you sell your house with me and buy your next one with me, if I can't sell your first house within 30 days of listing, within 95% of the listing price, I will pay your mortgage on the first property until it sells. How's that for wild?
Oh my gosh, that is definitely big and bold.
And wouldn't that create confidence for you as someone selling to her? Like, wow, how can you do that? She goes, well, and then she tells the story why she became a realtor. Didn't want to put up with the lies. People would promise the moon, and then 3 months later they would lower the price, and then 3 months later they would lower the price and actually then sell it. She said, I'm not going to play that game. I'm only going to take a listing if it's fair, and I'm going to sell it fast. Now, the guy didn't know is that she averaged 21 days to sell. So 30 days for her was not even a risk. And she averaged currently, in the couple of years she'd been a realtor, 100% of listing price, because she only listed fair. She didn't list terrible. So 95% to her was no risk. Like, so in her mind, this wasn't even risky. And in the prospect's mind, it was totally taking the risk off of the prospect and putting on her shoulders. She got that listing. She double-ended that deal. She made $65,000 on the two sides of that transaction. And within a year, she was #1 female agent in Royal LePage, which is the biggest brand in Canada at the time. And why they separate men and women agents in real estate to this day, I don't understand, because it's like, what's female
Just a
got
house,
to do with it?
right? Yeah.
Right. It's a house. Exactly. But nonetheless, that's how they do their rankings. And so she became #1 in the country with that approach as a new realtor in this space. And I think that's a perfect example of boldest possible guarantee you can create. So that's number 2. Number 3, any questions on that before we jump to number 3?
No, I think that's great. You made it very clear.
Number 3, you got to figure out how to deliver. You got to figure out how to deliver. And this is where it's going to take some work. This doesn't happen automatically. You got to take some work. You got to build all the elements to ensure success. In our world, where you're selling wisdom and knowledge, you got to build in skills, accountability, and mentorship if you're coaching others. You might want to build in done for you or run for you components. Like, all of those things are worth considering when you're doing this. You got to figure out how to pull it off, right? And reasonable fine print is possible. Reasonable fine print is possible. I'll give you a quick example of that, because in the industry of selling wisdom and knowledge, people will give these ridiculous fine print guarantees. If you follow my program, and if you do every single step as I suggest, and if you report on every single step exactly on time, then if you don't make what you put into my program, I'll pay you the difference. That's literally an example of a program. I won't tell you who the person is. She's very big in our space. You probably know of her, Barb. That's her we call fine print guarantee. It's a $3,000 program. So if you do every single thing she says and follow every single step, she'll only guarantee the difference between $3,000 and what you did in sales.
That's actually not acceptable anymore.
That's ridiculous. Oh, but she does several million a year today with that offer. It's ridiculous. That's not a guarantee. That's like a complete waste of time. Because first off, no one does everything you suggest.
No, that's for
Right?
sure.
Right. Number 1. Number 2, who's investing $3,000 to make $3,000? No one I know. You may invest $3,000, you want to make $30,000. You invest $10,000, you want to make $100,000. You want to get at least 10 times your money. So only offering to get your money back, and not even that. She's only going to pay the difference between your documented sales and that. So that's like ridiculous fine print. You don't want that. You want reasonable fine print. Reasonable fine print. You know, our Strategic Alliance Live event, our big deal making summit, we now guarantee you'll get 10 marketing partners in those 3 days, 10 new strategic marketing partners, or I'll double your money. So the tickets are $100, they're $97. I'll give you $200 back if you don't get 10 partners. There is one fine print. You have to show up to the event.
Right. And that's a great event, by the way.
Yeah, you've been to it. We're super proud of it. It's awesome. And what we found is, as it turns out, if they show up to 60% of the event or more, and with all this Zoom technology, you track it all now, it's super easy, 60% or more, they love it. They get tremendous results. So since we put that guarantee specifically in place, we haven't had a single request for a refund. We thought we'd have some, but not even a single request, because the only people that wouldn't get that result are people who literally don't come.
Yeah, that's very true.
right?
And if they want to hear about that, all of the listeners, if they want to hear about that, they want to get on your list.
Yeah,
So
and or just go to strategicalliancelive.com and opt in. Yeah, absolutely happy to do that. But in terms of fine print and figuring out how to deliver results, right? You figure that out, you break it down. That's where there's work involved. And then here's where it gets really good. Step 4, we call anuragging your plan. I learned this from Anurag Gupta, which is why I use his name on it. Anurag Gupta takes people that do 10 million a year and gets them to a billion with a B and has a 100% success rate. Now, to be fair, if you don't listen, he kicks you out. So not 100% of the clients who start with them get to the finish line, but 100% who follow get that result, which I think is brilliant on its own. And what Anurag does is, if your goal, let's say your goal is to help someone add $100,000 in sales. He says, you don't plan for 100,000, plan for 200,000, double it. First step, double the goal, and then come up with 3 different ways to get them 200,000 in sales. Right? Let's take our $1 Million Summit program as an example. We guarantee $1 million in sales. We actually double that goal to 2 million and then work on 3 separate strategies to get you to 2 million. In our case, we leverage high ticket programs through summits. So we have the summit strategy of filling the summit with joint venture partners. We have the summit strategy with our own list, which is now 240,000 people, that strategy. And then we have a third strategy, which it takes too long to get into here, but it's a completely separate strategy from joint venture partners and from that. So we have 3 separate strategies, all designed to drive thousands of people to the summit, which we know will drive hundreds of people to the masterclass, which will drive dozens of people to enroll in their high ticket program. And so we build triple redundancy into the model. So we're not trying to add $1 million to our $1 million clients. We're actually trying to add $6 million. And why that's so important is, if you think back, for those of you goal setters out there, think back to the last time you set a major goal that you really committed. Did you hit it? Well, I've asked thousands of people that question from the front of the room, and the vast majority say no. But then I asked them, what percentage did they get of the goal? And the answer is 75%, 50%, 40%, 25%, 30%, 60%, somewhere in that range. Almost all the answers follow up. A few honest people say 0%, right? So some got nowhere, but most are somewhere between 20 and 80%. And I've done this with over 10,000 entrepreneurs. So this is like lots and lots and lots of examples. Well, when you're playing for 6 times the results by Anurag, right? You double your goal and then 3 sets playing for double. 6 times, you only have to get to 18% to get your goal.
that's genius. It's just setting yourself up for success.
It absolutely guarantees you'll get results. So when you build it in for your client, when you Anurag your plan for them, and I'm talking dollars, but it could be time off, it could be hours saved, it could be moments of joy. There are all kinds of ways to quantify results. Monetary is just one simple way, but there are lots of ways to quantify results. Weight loss, right? Your goal is to lose 10 pounds. Okay, so we're going to make that 20 pounds, and we're going to come up with 3 strategies to lose 20 pounds. Right? Wow. Right. So now you're at the potential to lose 60 pounds. No, of course, that's not going to happen in a physical body unless you're my size. You're my size, 60 pounds is possible. I could lose 60 pounds. I wouldn't want to lose 60 pounds, but I would want to lose 20. Right. So if you're promising me, guaranteeing me 20, it's like, oh, wow, I want to pay attention to this. Right. And you're egging your plan. There's lots to that. We can't get into all of that in the time we have today, but you build that redundancy in. And then the next step, it's so important, you link your payment to your client's results. You link your payment to your client's results. Now, our clients, we teach, take a quarter up front, a quarter when they get a quick win and make some money, and the other half when they get to the very end, right? You know our model with the 3 stages. Even people that only pay the first fee and never get the next results are happier because they haven't paid 100%. They've only paid 25%. Now, are they disappointed they didn't get to the end result? Yes, absolutely. Almost to a person. If they care, they should be disappointed. But almost always, because we build enough skills, accountability, and mentorship in, they're able to reflect and realize, well, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I should have done that. I meant to do that. And they realize, yeah, you know what? I think I played a role in not getting there. But here's the best part. They only paid 25% of the fee. So even your non-performing clients love risk reversal. They're super important here, because will every client do what you say, Barb?
Absolutely not.
No, human nature. You're not going to change humanity. You're not going to change humanity. If you build skills, accountability, and mentorship in, if you're working with authority entrepreneurs, people that sell wisdom and knowledge, you can actually build enough redundancy in to get the majority of them possibly to that level. But the reality is not everyone's going to listen. So by doing it this way, by linking payments to results, it's way more honorable, first off. Number two, it's way easier to sell. And number three, when you pull it off, you make way more money than you would have made the other way. Do you think if I gone in and asked that guy for $10,000 for his Yellow Page ad, he would have given a young 23-year-old kid 10 grand up front?
Absolutely not. No,
not a chance.
It's a great way to do it.
Yeah. And then the last step is really important, which is test and measure, test and measure, test and measure. No matter where you start with your risk reversal strategy, you want to get out and talk to people and see how it works, right? Just like Catherine did with that real estate listing. She talked to someone and said, what do you think? What do you think? I talked to a young lad. He runs a beautiful podcast called 7-Figure Millennials, Brandon Fong. I call him a young lad. He's probably in his, well, I know he's in his 30s. He's been at this about 7 years. He runs a great podcast. It's got hundreds of thousands of downloads. It's an awesome, and he does about 6 hours of research for every guest. Unbelievable. I've never met anyone, Barb, who does more research for every guest ever. And now he's going to teach people how to build 6- and 7-figure businesses off of a podcast, because he's now proven he can do this. So he's, we're talking about our model, and we're working on some other projects together. And he came to our last strategic alliance event, and he's like all excited. Oh, I want to totally do this. I said, great. So what are you thinking of doing? Do you want to promise 6 figures of results or 7 figures of results? Because as you know, that's our first sort of distinguishing characteristic. He goes, well, I'm not sure. I could do either. He said, well, I've got a call tomorrow. I said, well, ask them. He goes, what do you mean? I go, you got a call tomorrow, the prospect you met at the Strategic Alliance Live, right? Yeah. Ask that person. Now, I knew who this person was, but I didn't know the person well, but they were at our event. I said, just ask them. And he messaged me about 5 minutes after his call ended. He wants the $1 million result, which is a $100,000 program, 12,500 down. On those programs, we recommend 4 payments, not 3. So it's 12,500 down. His first conversation with his first prospect will be a $100,000 client. Now, verbal, yes, I want to do it, and here's my money, and here's the contract. There's still a gap there in between, but he was just testing the idea. And the client said, I would much rather the $1 million result, please. And for Brandon, here's the beauty. For most of us, the only difference is a bit more time. Right? If you can teach someone how to make 6 figures, you can teach them how to make $250,000, just a bit more time. If you teach them how to make $250,000, you can teach them how to make $1 million, just 4 times the time. So maybe a 1-year program becomes a 2-year program, or a 6-month program becomes a 1-year program, but it's just applying the same strategies and adding in some group coaching and a mastermind. Right? Same with physical businesses, but you've got other economies of scale you got to build in. So it's not always as easy with a physical business to double your sales. But I spent 10 years helping physical bricks and mortar businesses double their sales and had 100% success rate. So it's not impossible either. It's not impossible either. Maybe we can talk a little bit about how do you figure that out when you're starting a new business, if it's going to work or not. But those are the 6 steps of risk reversal, shifting the risk from your prospect's shoulders to your shoulders. I can tell you, I've made millions and millions of dollars with this strategy. I've taught it to thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. The average return for someone getting results is less than 30 days. If you have an existing business and existing prospects, and you put this into practice, you will get that sort of result within 30 days.
That is excellent. I think especially now because people are strapped for what they're going to do. Maybe they gave up their work already or they're thinking about it. And it certainly is easier to sell to someone when you believe that it's a good deal.
And when you're new, here's a little bonus tip. Someone says, well, how many people have you done this with? You get to say, none. I'm so excited to launch this. I'm so sure, though, that if I accept you, I'll link half of my fee to the result. Half of your fee? Yeah, half of my fee, I'll link to the result. Wow, you must really believe this is going to work. Well, yeah, if I accept you, of course I'm going to believe it's going to work. Otherwise, I wouldn't link half my fee to results. So you can take your newness and turn that into an advantage, not a disadvantage, which is what most people think it is, but an advantage with a risk reversal. How's that for cool?
That is very cool. Very cool. So you've done brick and mortar businesses, you've done online businesses, you've helped thousands, maybe 10,000 people create businesses.
Yeah, over 10,000. It's a lot.
Yeah. So if somebody isn't clear on what their idea is, do you have any quick tips that you could throw out there?
Yeah, the approach that we teach in some of our master classes now, we call Ikigai. It's named after a Japanese strategy from the 7th century, 8th century, Ikigai. Go to Dr. Google and look it up. Ikigai. Hoi, 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 Ikigai. And it's the combination, it's the intersection of 4 things. So you start with, what do you love to do and what are you good at? And you make a list of all the things you love to do and all the things you're good at. And then there's 2 other areas that overlap: what the world needs and what they'll pay you for. And it's the intersection of those 4 things that is your Ikigai, your calling, your Dharma, your highest and best purpose. So the path to getting there is you start with those first 2 lists, all the things you're good at, all the things you love to do, and look for the overlap. Don't do it at the same time, though, especially you men. Follow the process. Make a list of all the things you're good at first, and get help. Get other people who know you and trust you, and get them to help brainstorm that list. All the things you're really good at, all the things you love to do. Remember? Then once those lists are done, look for the overlap. And the reason I say don't do it at the same time is you will filter out stuff that you don't even think about. Like, I'm really good at playing bridge, or at least I used to be really good at playing the game bridge. Well, there's professional bridge leagues now. There are people getting paid millions of dollars a year to play electronic sports, right? Esports is bigger than Hollywood. So there may be lots and lots of things you're really good at that you think there's no way I can make money at it, when yes, there is a way. I remember, I might have told you this. I was doing a workshop in Cleveland one time, and I was talking about target audiences and niching and micro niching and niching down. And there was a professional magician in the room, Richard McAlinden III. And I joked to the room, for example, in Richard's field, there's probably an opportunity to teach left-handed magicians. And the whole room laughed. Oh, that's a funny joke, Tom. And Richard puts his hand up. And I'm like, no, get him a mic. And they run a mic over. He goes, well, it's actually called one-handed sleight of hand magic. And there's a magazine with 110,000 paid subscribers. Holy cow, I had no idea. So whatever you're good at, whatever you love to do, list them. It doesn't matter what they are. And then look for the overlaps. And then go into, what can you get paid and what does the world need? What does the world need? And it's that perfect combination. Is that work? Yeah, that's work. That's work. That's not like you're not going to do that in a minute and a half. But if you start thinking about that list and you start grabbing that list, you'll be amazed. And here's the best part. If you take time to get that intersection of all 4, you have an incredible impact on the planet. You make a ton of money. These are the businesses that do 7 figures their first year, not struggle to make 6 figures. I live outside of Vancouver. You can't make 6 figures and live in a house in Vancouver. Like, a teardown house is 1.3 million now. A teardown, a place that you or I, Barb, wouldn't even live in, 1.3 million teardown. So you don't even qualify for the cheapest homes in Vancouver unless your family income is 800,000 a year or up. So making 100,000 in your business is like, it's like you can't even start to have a place to live out here. So, you want to be thinking 7-figure business potential. You want to be thinking that. Whether or not you need that, you'll be living in different parts of the world. You may not need to have the house costs that we have in Vancouver, because most of the world doesn't, thankfully. But that doesn't matter. You still want to have the potential for a 7-figure business, in my opinion. And part of the reason is it's people like Barb and me and others that when you make good money, you can give it back to KIVA, right? Barb's doing this entire summit giving it back to KIVA. Why? Because first off, she wants to help KIVA. Second, she wants to leave an impact in the world. And third, some of you will get on her list, become part of her tribe, and eventually do business with her. She's playing the long game, not the short game, right? I'm doing the same thing. How much am I getting paid for this talk, Barb? Maybe I missed it somewhere.
Nothing, yes.
Zip-diddy-doo-dah. And I'm happy to get zip-diddy-doo-dah for this talk because I'm helping Barb have more impact in the world. And some of you might join up for the VIP gift, because we're going to tell you what my gift is for VIP in a moment, and go, oh my God. And you might want to buy VIP just because of that. And some of you might track me down on LinkedIn or get involved in our world, but I'm not doing it because of that. I'm doing it because I want to help you as entrepreneurs grow and have impact in the world, because the right type of entrepreneurs, the more money you make, the more you give away.
Which is what we really want in the world right now. I think
Katie Sharfin at Austin, Texas. She says, if you don't think money can't buy happiness, you haven't given enough away.
That's very true.
Right.
I think anybody who buys this summit is going to want to go through and listen to Tom's interview again, not only for the value that he's created, but he is an exceptional storyteller and puts a story with everything that he teaches. And that is something that we could all benefit from.
Thank you.
So do you want to tell them about your legal pages gift?
8 legal templates, the free gift?
Yes.
Sure. One of the fastest ways to grow your business is having other people promote you. We all kind of know that, right? We all kind of know that. So we call that world joint ventures or strategic alliances. I like to use the term strategic alliances because it's much more than just a product and a list. Sometimes it's much, much more. There's many more elements involved, or it's more nuanced. For example, me speaking on Barb's Summit is a strategic alliance. I'm not getting paid to speak, and yet I've been paid thousands and thousands of dollars to share this exact same information. Why am I doing it? Because I'm helping Barb impact people like you, the people listening in, right? And so it's a strategic alliance. Sometimes it's not just the short-term way of doing it. However, when you do strategic alliances, especially if there's money involved, you want to have an agreement. You want to have a contract of some sort in place. And I've spent over 65,000 US putting together a bunch of legal documents over the years that I've used hundreds and hundreds of times now. And we give these away as a free gift. If you go to 8legaltemplates.com, the link will be down below here somewhere in the show notes, probably. You should go there and you get the gift, and you will get those templates for yourself. And now what you do with the templates is you modify them, adjust them to your world, then take them to an attorney or a lawyer once you've adjusted them, and you won't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe just a few $100s, and they'll tweak it for your local conditions or your local laws or your local jurisdiction or wherever it happens to be. But it'll save you a ton of money setting it up, and you'll protect your backside. Because as you may know, not everyone is as honorable as you.
That's very true.
Right? Not everyone is as honorable as you. And so it's important. What was the Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev in the end of the Cold War? Colin Powell shared this story with me from stage at a big Tony Robbins event in Hawaii years ago. He was there when the Cold War freaking ended. Right? As we record this, we're back into the start of what could be another big Cold War with crazy Putin doing his thing in the Ukraine. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, that's old news, but something tells me it's not. Certainly the Cold War is not going to be news because of the craziness. Well, when the first Cold War ended, Colin Powell was there, and Reagan did the walk in the snow with Gorbachev in Reykjavik. Some of you may recall these details. Some of you may have just heard about in the history books. And apparently at the press conference, when they agreed to end this, Reagan quoted a Russian proverb. And it's a great proverb for all of us as entrepreneurs, or those that want to be entrepreneurs. Doviai no proviai is the Russian proverb, and it means trust but verify. So when you're doing joint ventures, you got to enter with the spirit of trust. You got to enter with the spirit of trust, but you should also verify. You should also document. And so that's why we give away these legal templates that allows you to make it easier to trust but verify. That's the first time I shared that story in that context, but it actually makes a ton of sense, doesn't it?
It definitely does. And it's very timely for what's going on in the world right now.
Yep. Yep. We all need to do that. We still need to trust, right? You don't want to get rid of goodwill in the marketplace, but verify, document, dot your I's, cross your T's along the way.
Right. And you mentioned a VIP gift.
Yes. So we were talking about this in the green room before we started recording today. I want to support KIVA. I support KIVA. I've got loans in 60 countries. My son and I right now, as we record this, and by the time you listen to this, it'll be at least 61. That'll be my goal. But here's the thing. In order to encourage you to buy the recordings, not just of this talk, because that'll be worth listening over and over and over again, if you want to have more impact, more influence, and more income, but all the other great speakers that Barb's attracted. So if you buy the recordings, I will contribute a program that's we call Six-Figure Referral Program Academy. It's been valued as high as $10,000. We currently value it at $2,000, and it teaches a business, bricks and mortar, service, or online, how to leverage referrals to rapidly grow your business. And we teach 5 different strategies. My gift to you for free if you do that. Now, we have no way to give this away free with a click. So what'll happen is you'll buy the VIP gifts. Barb will let me know who those are, and I will send invitations out so you can get access to the program as if you paid $2,000. So we'll have to work the logistics out on that, Barb. It's not an automated thing because we only sell it. We don't give it away. But I'm happy to contribute it for everyone tuning in. And we all know the best way to grow our business is with word of mouth. So why not accelerate word of mouth through referrals? But the catch is you got to buy the $47. And my challenge to you is get another one of your business friends to buy a copy as well, right? Help Barb impact hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs through KIVA, right? Help her with her goal. I think it's a brilliant goal.
Thank you very much. And it's not only KIVA we're helping all of you. We're helping all of you come up with business ideas, find your purpose, and create businesses because the world needs it right now. All right, Tom, thank you so much for everything that you've shared today. I'm so lucky to know you, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy day. And I hope you enjoy driving your Tesla over to your coffee shop and having a wonderful breakfast with all of your friends.
Thank you. I'm going to have a great breakfast this morning. We're up bright and early on the West Coast recording this. Thank you, Barb, for asking me to share. And for everyone out there, it doesn't do any good to hear this stuff. You got to put it into practice. So when you put risk reversal into practice, send Barb and I a note, track us down, tell us how it worked, because that's what matters. Right? If we're going to make a big difference in the world, we got to put it into action. So my challenge to you as we wrap is to put it into action, everyone.
Yes,
thanks, Barb.
Definitely. Thank you. Have a great day, Tom.